Hey friends, I'm just getting back from the climbing gym, and you know what? I'm back to climbing Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and sometimes Saturdays. So I'm climbing a lot more now. And you know what happens every time I have to leave the gym? I'm insanely sad. I hate leaving the gym. So anyways, my friend gave me a hangboard right here. So I thought I could talk to you today while I get this puppy hung up above the door right here. I know I've been talking about milestones a lot lately. Most of them revolving around YouTube or something like that, but I have another one that I'm going to talk to you about. 5 years of freelance. Just last month, well, kind of like a month and a half ago, I hit the 5-year mark of being freelance. Pretty much 3 years of getting my butt smacked, just getting owned by freelance, and then 2 years of like, okay, this is working. So as I hang up this hangboard, which I'm gonna put right up there, maybe we could just talk through like 5 things that I have learned in these 5 years. Okay, so I have this piece of wood here that I think I can just put up in this. It's a little too big, so I'm gonna have to cut some of it off, but I think I can do that and then cut it in half and use that. So I'm gonna go down, get a tape measure and get a saw and everything. Okay, first thing that I've learned from freelance, low overhead. Low overhead changes everything. And what I mean by this is don't spend money on things that aren't going to make you money. And it's really hard to wrap your head around, especially if you're coming from a job where you were entitled to some luxuries because you were having a paycheck continually come in. But whenever you shift to freelance, it's incredibly important to realize that every bit of money that you have needs to go forward, take you forward in your career. So I'm actually not saying to save money on gear. I think gear is one of the things that can propel you forward in your career. And in fact, buying software and plugins to put you at the front end of your industry is actually just one of the best ways that you can invest, in my opinion. Some people would disagree. Some people say gear and that stuff does not matter. In terms of what I do, 3D, it's so competitive and things move so quickly that if you're not keeping up, you're falling behind. So mainly what I'm talking about here is like, don't buy an expensive car. If you have an expensive car, big payments, sell it, get a cheap thing. If you have expensive house payments, like rental payments, just find somewhere cheaper to live. If you're gonna do this, if you're gonna go into freelance, genuinely get your overhead low, because I know so many people, a majority of the freelancers that I know, have to say yes to way too many jobs just to make sure that they can provide their bills, pay the things that they've already committed to paying to. And it's just a failure from there. It's just a cycle. You're never gonna get out of that, out of the weeds of those initial projects that you inevitably have to take. The only thing that allows you to go for the next things is having a little bit of financial freedom to make some serious moves. All right, I'm gonna go in here, get the skill saw. Okay, I just went in, got my right angle, skill saw. Let's go do this. 6 inches, okay. The second thing is diversification. And what I mean by this is you can either choose to solely make money, make your income from that one thing that you're freelance at, or you can find other sources of income to stabilize your life. For me, the thing that happened is when I was trying to make freelance my sole income, I found myself working for studios and agencies where I was just working all the time. Like, I got into freelance so that I could have a little bit more stability more flexibility and enjoy life a little bit more and all sorts of perks of, the freedom of freelance. But then as soon as you depend on that as your sole income, really your options drop off significantly, because either you're sourcing your own work like crazy, having to be a businessman, manage client relations, source sales, all sorts of things, or you work for an agency. Those are your two options if you're doing this as your sole income. Am I making sense? Regardless of that, regardless of whether or not I'm making sense, let me tell you that the things that we've done recently to have a few other streams of income coming in have absolutely changed my life for the better. I'm kind of tired of just sitting like this. We, as you know, I've told you this quite a few times, we started doing Airbnb, and we took the thing that was the biggest expense for our family, the most outrageous. I'll just tell you, our mortgage is like $1,600. That takes a big chunk of what I make every month. And as soon as we got our Airbnb going, not only is our mortgage paid for, that biggest expense is gone, we actually get quite a bit of money on top of that back into our account. So that's mostly what I'm talking about here with diversification. And because of that, diversification, that sounds kind of right. Because of that extra money coming in, it takes this pressure off of needing my freelance to just be A-okay all the time, because we all know that there are these massive waves. So as soon as you can get some stability, some of those waves to lessen through another form of income, you find out that you can actually step into some much more key roles, and you can start getting paid a lot more from freelance. But you're never going to get there if you need the money and you keep saying yes to every little thing that comes in. Not sure if I said that well or not. I'm just going to get this measured out and then we'll go cut. Honestly, it's kind of hard to talk about things at the same time that I'm trying to think about cutting wood. Let's trim off a little bit more. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at cutting. I'm gonna go do it again. It's time to go get the drill, but first, number 3 thing that I've learned. Go. Don't wait. For the first 3 years of freelance, I was so focused on getting my portfolio ready and then just being like, okay, it looks great. Surely the CEO of Nike is going to stumble upon it sometime soon and then I'll be super successful. It doesn't happen. You could make your portfolio look insane and it might not ever, it could, but it might not ever work for you. So what I'm telling you, the thing that I learned that changed everything about my career was the fact that I just started going for what I wanted to get paid for. I started creating projects that I wanted to get paid to do in the future. And a lot of times that meant free work. It meant that I was doing things that would not benefit me right there in that moment, but then ultimately would get me in front of the people that I needed to see things and then get me hired for that very thing. Humongous difference. Stop waiting to be found and go out and put your work in front of people. Put work in front of people that they just cannot avoid seeing and loving and contacting you because of it. I got these 4 lumber screws. But first, I'm going to do some pre-drilling, just to make sure I don't crack the old wood. After looking at these, where these holes are, I think I'd be better off to cut the piece of wood that I just made into 2 sections, like one big section here and one big section here. So there's a little gap in between. So I'm gonna go cut again. Gotta go find some more screws. Number 4, meet people. I mean, tons and tons of people. People are going to be your gateway to the things that you want to do. Whether it's learn things, get the projects you want, get paid, all of those things come from just meeting people. It's just so weird how cyclical it is, and it starts to feel like a little bit like you're using people because you're wanting to meet people for a gain. But I would challenge you to think way beyond that and just start meeting people only, even for just the fact that you want to get to know people. Whether you get a gain from them or not, it's great for your mental health to socially be engaged, to know people, to be in conversation with things that you love to do, and things you get to learn about other people's things that they love to do. You get to invest in such a personal side of yourself. So the more you meet, the more your name gets spread around, the more that this person remembers that they went to coffee with you 6 years ago and you do this one specific thing. Your name gets passed in. That person at that time that you met with them, they were just working at a gas station, and now they're the CEO of Twizzlers. That could happen. You never know. Seriously though, I went to coffee with one new person every single week for the first 2 years of being freelance. I've told you that before on these videos, but to me, it didn't matter what that person even did. I went to coffee with people that were really passionate about boats. I lived in Charleston, South Carolina at the time. Really passionate about hunting. It just didn't matter. I was just engaging with people in some way, even though that's all I really wanted was to be connected to people. That ended up benefiting my career. So I just believe in that wholeheartedly, that you should just, if there's somebody you want to meet, just ask them to meet, digitally or physically, whatever that is. It's gonna help you, no doubt. All right, time to put on this last piece of wood. So now the wood is up. We gotta go see. I gotta find some screws to actually mount the board to the pieces of wood. Okay, found some. Gonna go get a level, BRB. We got 2 more screws, the ones up at the very top. Just switching out the drill bit. Let's just go ahead and hit number 5. Don't kill yourself. Promise me that if you decide to go freelance, that you will not be so hard on yourself. When I went freelance, there's this insane pressure, because every single minute that you're not spending on your business feels like you're wasting money. And especially when you're not making enough money, then you just try even harder. And every moment that you waste, you feel super guilty about. It's the most dangerous cycle, because then you're just feeling terrible about yourself the whole time you're trying to get started, which already feels horrible to not be successful. And it's just horrible. It's a self-deprivating cycle. So one thing that I would say, this is one of the most important things, it is to just give yourself some grace. Find this balance between setting ambitious goals and low expectations. You gotta have some low expectations, or else you're just gonna be insanely disappointed and just flat out embarrassed of yourself. You know what? I'm also just gonna say, you're not gonna make it if you don't figure out how to solve that last problem I just talked about. If you let yourself continually be disappointed, you're gonna fail. There's no way that you can withstand that much feeling of failure. You gotta start setting some goals that are reasonable, finding some locked in hours that make you feel really good about what you've committed to, even if it's not providing what you need it to provide. You know, that's the only way that you're gonna get far into this, because you're just gonna give up if you constantly feel like you're a failure. It's done. It took a little bit longer than I expected it to, but we have a hangboard. I haven't tried it yet, so if I fall, it's literally gonna be on camera. Let's go do it. Good so far. I just discovered that it's a little bit better if you open the door, or else your face is like 2 inches from the door, maybe even less. So I'm just gonna try out some other spots on it. There are like ones for all your fingers, 3 fingers, 2 fingers, 1 finger. Lots of really good training here. Let's try a 3 finger. Ooh, this is a very shallow crimp. We got the 2 finger pockets here. Oh, yeah, ouch. That hurts. I've never been very good at 2 finger pockets. I use the wrong fingers, so I'm really gonna be working on that. This one up here, right here, that's like the most, that's actually the least depth, so that's the hardest one. Let's try it. You can also do things like pull-ups. That last one wasn't too hard because I've been doing I do a lot of pull-ups on our door ledges. What do you call those? The door framing? Yeah. Okay, so, but you can also do like things like pull-ups and stuff on these. It feels really stable. Guys, I'm so jacked to have this in here. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna get super good at climbing. I got like decently good at before I had a baby, then I had to take 6 months off just to make sure I was here during all that time. But then now I'm getting back into it. So hopefully this will get me caught back up to where I was, because I dropped like 2 grades in that time, which is such a bummer. Okay, I have a bonus thing, a 6th item, and that is to observe. I think that one of the most underrated things about being freelance is the fact that you get to go into an industry and you just get to see how things are happening. When you're in a career at a corporate job or at a company, whatever, you're pretty refined or stuck in that one industry. When you're freelance, you get to go dip your toes in all these different areas because clients are coming from all these different areas. So you really get to go in and you get to observe, and then you get to take notes on what's working, what's needed, and then you can make huge moves based on that information. So for me, I was a graphic designer and I was just kind of in all these industries seeing, oh my gosh, everyone wants motion. So then I started learning motion, got a ton of work from that. And then after I got into motion, even though 3D was the goal from the beginning, I knew the timing was right for me to move into 3D because I could see in all these clients that they were just hungry for that sort of work and the demand was not being met. So it's just like being freelance, you just get this opportunity to go into all these different spaces, industries, and get a first glance look at what you need to be doing in the future. And I'll tell you right now, the thing that I've been observing a ton of is virtual production. That's one of those things that's like, everybody's wanting it right now. And I'm talking about like Unreal Engine virtual production, but there's not the demand to meet it. So that's an area that I've been spending a lot of time. So I wouldn't have known that had I been stuck at one job. Okay, that's enough of me and my butt. I feel like you saw a lot of my butt in this video. I hope you enjoyed. I will talk to you guys next Tuesday. I'll just be over here hangboarding. Till then, have an amazing week. I'll see you next Tuesday.